Last few days have been really amazing for me. I met a person a few days ago who pointed out to me that I had deep-seated anger, even though I came across as a pretty chilled-out person. And so I went straight home that night and thought about it and thought, tomorrow I'm going to address this. So I did. I went under the light, and my intention was to show yourself. I want to know, where did this come from, and what does it look like and feel like. And I had this light session that was pretty okay. It wasn't anything special, but my brother turned up, my older brother, and when I was told I had the anger, I thought it was somebody else in the family. I definitely knew it was family, and I directed it towards another person, and then he appeared, and as soon as he did, I felt this lump, a knot come in my lower left side. And so I thought, okay, I'll finish off a beautiful evening and I'll deal with this later. And off I went. Next day I got under the light, and I said a few words that I won't say right now, but basically, you know, show yourself to me again. And I had a pretty unusual session as far as colours and shapes, but nothing wow. I came off and I thought, I wanted to see more than that. And that was the question that the universe needed to hear, because straight away in that evening I started feeling very unsettled and not at all comfortable. I couldn't do anything. I had intentions to do different things and go for a visit to a friend, and it just couldn't happen because I was really unsettled. And went to bed and got up the next day, and that anger button was pushed at 6 AM. And there were some speakers that were really loud that seemed like they were under my pillow, and I woke up angry and not observed it immediately and thought, this is something I haven't felt for a long time, and I want to look further into this. So I couldn't get away from that. That button was getting, pushed quite hard first thing in the morning. That went right through the turn of events that kept happening all day, and they were just little things that kept happening, but that button of anger was really getting pushed, and there was no relief. I was manifesting one situation after another to really push that button. So by the time the afternoon came, I actually had stuff I had to do, and by the time the afternoon came, I was quite ferocious, and I saw on the way home, I could see I had a dragon's tail and I was on fire actually. There was so much anger bursting out of me because my helmet was holding it in from my ears or my nose or something. And I got home and I was pretty much full on angry, and I sat down and observed it, which probably was for about 1 or 2 hours. And a lot of scenes came to me, and it was a lot of scenes that erupted that anger emotion in me, but actually it wasn't the full emotion as what I had stored when I had the emotion as a child. And so it was coming up, but it was like a little bubble, I suppose, popping, and it was just one after another emotion. And I really was boiling like a pressure cooker. I was really boiling, and I thought, I'm going to get under the light again. So I went under the light, and it was really like, give it to me, universe, bring it on. I've had this day of you loading onto me so I can handle more. So I went under the light, and again, my session wasn't too busy or colourful or anything like that, but afterwards I felt like everything had risen, where it was just here, but it was full from the bottom to here. So instead of the shape being this way, it had turned this way, and it was ready to come out, I suppose. And so I sat and observed it, and I didn't have that anger anymore, but I knew there was something there, and I was quietly observing it, and then suddenly this big breath came out of me spontaneously, and I did this and opened my eyes and observed myself, and with that happening, my insides too were tight, and then they just let go, and I felt this. Wow, I just released something, and I sort of looked on the floor to see if anything landed there, because it was really heavy what was inside of me, and how can this just come out and be, dissipate into the air. So I felt quite peaceful after that. Last night I sat down after the light session, and it was like I asked for that light session if there was any more anger to come up. And yeah, more anger did come up, but it moved out of me quicker because I think I let go of that big lump, you know, that cement that was holding everything in place. And so after my light session last night, I wanted to observe myself more, so I went and sat down on my bed, and I had my back towards the window, and I was just, you know, sitting quietly on my bed and checking in with my emotions and everything in my day and my movement internally and externally. And suddenly all these noises were, as quiet as I was, all these noises began to bring themselves to my consciousness, and I didn't know what was happening. It wasn't fuzzy, it wasn't anything, but it was just a whole collection of different noises, and I couldn't work out. And I think I shifted my head a tiny fraction, and then suddenly I felt like miles away, whether it was just across the road or on the step in front, but distance-wise I felt like it was a long way away. I tuned into a bug eating a leaf, and I really could feel it, the energy of it crunching into this leaf, and the leaf hanging on the tree, and the bug eating it. And so I turned and I faced the window. My eyes were still closed, and I faced the window, and I really tuned into this bug. It was suddenly loud, and there was no other sounds around, and I could, you know, I had in my mind, I can see it now, what I thought it was a caterpillar eating. And then on concentrating on that, on the back of me, maybe 10 meters away outside, there's some water tanks, and I suddenly tuned in that the water tank was dripping, and every time it dripped, you know, you get that boing, and the water comes up and the ripples come out and it all settles back down again. Well, between then, I was having a vision of the water dripping from the pipe inside and actually welling up on the pipe and then getting so heavy it had to drip, and how it expanded on the way down to hit the water, and I saw the ripple and the splash come up and everything, and my head was forward, but I could see that, you know, to the back of me, maybe at about 230 degrees, something like that, and then I suddenly heard this little scuttle, and I thought, what's that? And straight away I knew it was a gecko running across the rubber mat on the floor in my kitchen, and with having that thought, it's not like I was there and watching it, but I was able to envision that gecko doing that. And then I was just focusing on that, and I heard this drip again, and it wasn't the drip behind me, and I heard this drip, and then it paused, and then drip again. Everything was silence. That's all I could hear, and I thought straight away, I've left the tap dripping outside. So I got up and I unlocked the back door, and I walked around the back, and the tap was dripping to that same drip. I think it was 5 seconds, or what I counted to 5, that the tap was dripping. So I actually was in my bedroom, and I tuned in through the next room and the lower room to the sink on the other side of the brick wall, and I turned it off, and it was a full moon last night, and when I looked outside from the back veranda, and it was the whole garden in front of me at night of my neighbours, was all the green was luminescent, and the earth was so alive, and it was, I've never had that before, that fine tuning of sound and vision, and this went on for an hour, and in the end I decided that, you know, I asked the universe, please give me this gift again tomorrow, because I need to sleep now. And with that I walked back inside, and I went to sleep, and I slept like a baby. Today I feel, this morning actually I was a little bit drained when I got up, because I only had 3.5 hours sleep in the night before, just due to some noise that was in the area for a couple of days. And so I felt quite groggy getting up this morning, and I I just let my day unfold. I had a little rest. I went out on a little adventure. I had a friend come over, and I just let my day unfold. And as the days unfolded, my lethargic feeling has started picking up its energy of me again, and I can feel it. I actually don't want to get too excited right now, but I'm very excited. I don't want to get too excited because I don't want to have another 2 or 3 o'clock bedtime. I want to go to bed at a bit more decent hour due to things I have to do or want to do tomorrow. So I feel like I've walked through, I described this earlier to someone, I've walked through an invisible water wall without getting wet, but as I had done so, my skin went through and went onto the water wall, and I walked through with fresh skin that unloaded a lot of masks or layers, whatever, I'm not sure, but something to that effect. And I don't feel like there's any more anger in me, but I'm going to do another light session tonight to check out if there is, because I've opened this and this has been a long time in me, so why not keep going and get it out? It's pointless unraveling half of it and then shoving the other half back in there when I can remove it. So very interesting few days for me.